ready to go to see the president, and you gotta powder your nose. She's gotta go powder her nose. Lord have mercy. We're on our way to go see the president. She's gotta go powder her nose. Okay, well, this gives me a time to relax. Yes! I can't believe I'm actually going to go see President Eisenhower. Oh, I'm Matthew Henson. I don't know if you heard of me. I'm the explorer. Oh, never. In my book, I explain how I was the first black man to actually step foot on the North Pole. April 6, 1909. You have not read my book? Well, okay. Let me tell you how it all started. You know what? I'm sitting here thinking about it. I never wanted to be an explorer. I always wanted to own my own ship and sail the world, and see the world. And I ended up being an explorer. It's amazing. Well, a good story is always one that starts in the beginning. Well, let's see. I am the third of 6 children. My parents were sharecroppers in Charles County, Maryland. I was born in 1866, right after the war. I was about 5 years old when my mother died and my father remarried. And then about another 4 or 5 years, my father dies and leaves me with my stepmother. She and I didn't get along. Matter of fact, I didn't care for her and she didn't care for me. So I did what the next best thing for young black men did. In those days, I ran. Yes, I ran away. I wouldn't recommend it, but that's what I did. I ended up going to Washington, D.C. And while I was in Washington, D.C., I lived with my uncle. Now, my uncle had plans. He wanted to give me a structured life, teach me to go to school and make something of my life. I didn't want to do that. I had something else better I wanted to do. So I did what the next best thing was. I ran away again. And I ended up at this seedy pub owned by this woman by the name of Aunt Jane. Oh, what a place. Aunt Jane's place was just great. Had all kinds of people coming and going. There was a gentleman by the name of Captain Jack. Now, he was the owner of his own ship, and he sailed the world. Can you imagine going to all kinds of wonderful places? Like he went to Africa and China and Japan and Australia. He was just all over the place, and he saw all kinds of wonderful things, and he would come back and he would just share those stories, and I would just sit there while I'm sweeping and mopping the floor. I was like enthralled, like, yes, that's it. That's what I want to be. I'm going to be myself. I'm going to sail the world. So I told that to Aunt Janie. And Aunt Janie looked at me and she said, Matt, I don't mean to bust your bubble, but black men do not become captains of ships, and they don't sail the world. How are you planning? Why don't you go back to school and make something of yourself? Be something practical. Practical? I don't want to be practical. I want to sail the world. So what do you think I did? Yes, you guessed it. I ran away. That's my 3rd time. Well, this time I ended up in Baltimore on the loading docks in the shipyard. And I needed to find out what it would be like to sail, to be a sailor. So I ended up with Katie Hines, a gentleman by the name of Captain Childs. Now that man left an impression on my life that I'll never forget. So here I am. I am on the Katie Hines, and I am the cabin boy for Captain Childs. And while I'm there, I learned how to sail. I learned how to read charts. I learned how to navigate. I became a medic, a cook. There was nothing that I couldn't do on the ship. I was able to mend nets, and I became the best carpenter ever. You name it, I can build it, and I can design it. And believe it or not, all those times that my uncle was trying to get me to learn how to read and write, go to school, Captain Childs taught me how to read and write. Well, everything was going well for me until I ran into something that really just stirred my life. Racism. Unfortunately, I was the only black on the ship. And I was 12 years old at the time. And so you can imagine all of the things and the trials and the tribulations and the name callings that I had to go through. Well, this one time, I had had enough. I was fed up with the name calling. I was tired of them calling me boy and coon and jungle bunny and monkey. Where's your tail, monkey? Tell that show us your tail. I got sick of all that. I told him my name is Matthew Alexander Henson. If you can't say my name, then guess what? We're just going to have to fight. So we got to this one point, and I was ready to fight. I mean, I was ready to battle. And of course, those of us men, we know, you know how we get all riled up, we get ready to go to battle, and that's how I felt. Till that same day, Captain Charles saw me. And he was wondering, it's like, Matthew, why are you so riled up? What is wrong with you? Calm down. I said, no, I don't want to calm down. I'm fed up with the name calling. I'm tired of this. This is unnecessary. Why are they treating me like this? And he said, calm down. Take a deep breath. Breathe. He goes, now listen. I have nothing to do with the fact that you're black. And for the rest of your life, you're going to have to encounter this form of ignorance. And there's nothing you can do about it. But I can tell you this. This is going to get you nothing but more struggles, more turmoil. You're just going to struggle for the rest of your life. People are only going to see you as this mean, nasty black man who's just full of anger. Let them see you for who you are. A very vibrant, intelligent, compassionate man. Let them see the character of who you are. Let them feel the love that's inside of you. Use this, not this. Pick up a book, read, study, understand who the people you are dealing with. Learn the language, learn their customs, learn everything you can about them. And when you come across their ignorance, don't use this. Shower them with this. Let them know that you are bigger than any obstacle because you can overcome with love and compassion. That's how you defeat the ignorance of racism. You know, I really wanted to pummel those guys. I was really ready to knock every last one of them out. But you know what? He was right. He was right. I studied, I learned. And I'm going to tell you to this day, that's why I'm here right now. I'm going to see the president because of those inspiring words. Well, needless to say, while Captain Charles was alive, my life on the ship was, well, it was good until he died. When he died, it was every man for himself. I leave, I end up going back to Washington, D.C. When I get to Washington, D.C., I threw away the idea of me becoming the captain of my own ship and sailing the world. Well, I'd already sailed the world, but I'm not going to have my own ship. So instead, I decided to pick up any old job I could and survive. Just find a job and survive. So I ended up at this hat shop. In comes this gentleman named by the name of Robert Peary, who changes my life because I end up becoming his cabin boy. Well, now I'm 22 years old. I'm too old to be a cabin boy. But I tried to explain to him all of the things that I could do. He didn't believe me. But that's all right. Because I saw in his eyes compassion and love. He did, even for that moment, he did see me as a black man, but I could see beyond that eventually, he's a lot better. Well, we ended up in Nicaragua because he was doing excavating for a canal down there. And one of his guys got hurt, and I ended up running out there, and I showed him all that I could do. Right then, he said, that's the man that's going to get me to the North Pole. Well, if you read the rest of my book, you'll find that for the next 18 years, we have trekked through Greenland. We have gone through all kinds of turmoil. When I get to Greenland, I learn how to I learned the language of the Inuits. I learned their customs. I learned everything there was about them. We became friends. I'm laughing because I'll never forget when I first met them. It was absolutely amazing. Do you know they had never seen a black man before? So we get to the docks, and I get off, and they come up and they see me, and they start to talking in their language, and they feel like they never seen a black man, and they run up to me, and they went to shake my hand, and they shake my hand, and they start to rub my skin. And I'm like, what is wrong with them? And they never thought that a black man would ever adorn their land. This is my first book. You know, I had to write this. After 18 years of trekking to the North Pole, helping Robert Peary get to the North Pole, do you know that when we arrived back to New York City in August of 1909, do you know in the front of the President Roosevelt and all of the world, he denied me the opportunity to become an explorer? He denied me. I actually had to write my own book. Even in his book, he denied ever even knowing me. But those words from Captain Childs saved my life. Because in the midst of all of that ignorance, in the midst of all the turmoil, I persevered. And I'm telling you, you can too. Persevere. Don't allow ignorance to keep you from doing what you want to do. Don't allow anyone to keep you from going where you want to go. You may make it to the president's office too. Oh, hell. My wife. Sweetheart, are you ready? Oh, yes. Well, listen, I gotta go. If you get a chance, please read my book. But, oh, babe, you look good. Yes, you look good. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. He's gonna love you just for who you are. Look, I'm going to see the president. I can't wait. I'm going to see the president. Well, remember, Matthew Alexander Henson. I'm the first. Read my book. I guarantee you'll enjoy it. After I see the president, I'll come back and talk to you about it. Okay? See you. Bye. Come on, David. Come on. Come on. Come on.
My question is, 18 years to get to the North Pole. What are some of the most salient experiences, in terms of the Inuit and their customs and meeting them and navigating terrain? What were some of the most interesting things that happened to you? What are some of the fondest memories? What are some of the hardest things that happened in that 18-year span?
Well, just to start it off, when we first arrived, the ship got stuck in the ice, and so we were out chipping the ice away so that we could free the ship. And as soon as we freed the ship and the ship jolted, Robert Peary falls and breaks his leg. Before we even get started, Robert Peary falls and breaks his leg. So that is a hindrance right there. So now we're backed up some time because we gotta wait for his leg to heal. Once we arrived there, I had to build a place for us to stay. And because of the time frame, because of where we were, in the spring or the summer of the year, which was between June and August, we had to hurry up and build a place for us to stay because after August, the temperature drops and it gets very cold. And Robert Peary and his wife, that was the other thing, he brought his wife on our first expedition. But they did something that no one has ever done. In that year, that was the first time I actually celebrated my birthday. The first time I had ever celebrated my birthday. So I knew then that Robert Peary was a very compassionate man, and I just knew that our lives were going to be, there was nothing that was going to keep us from doing what we were going to do. I was going to be with him until the very end. Living in Greenland, I would not recommend it. If you want to go visit, stay there for like a day or two and then get back on the ship and go home because it is freezing. It is absolutely cold. One of the things about living in Greenland is the Inuits. First of all, they have so many interesting customs, one of which is they're not wasteful. And what I mean by that is whatever they hunt, they use every aspect of the kill. So if they're hunting walrus, so they're going to take the skin and use the skin for clothing. They will use the meat to eat. The bones will be used as utensils, knives and forks. Also spears. The blood, they drink the blood. There is nothing. They waste absolutely nothing. And I'm going to tell you, I wouldn't recommend you drinking walrus blood, but it's a good way to save your life if you get frostbite. When you're freezing out there and you're dying, it was a good way to save your life. So I wouldn't recommend it. It's not the most fun tasting thing in the world, but yes, I would try it. Also, the one thing about surviving in Greenland, what we did was, especially if you're doing expeditions, you would go travel such a distance. So let's say if I'm going to travel 100 miles. So every 15 or 20 miles, I would go so far, and then I would build what they call a cache. And in the cache is you would put some food, you would put some oil, you would put things that are not going to, some perishables, non-perishable, and you would dig it and you would leave a marker, and then you would travel the next 15 or 20 miles, and you would leave a cache. This way, when you're getting to your designated area, if something should happen and you happen to go back, at least at each of the cache markers, you can find supplies that will help you get to the next cache on your way back. And trust me, they saved our lives many a day. The Inuits, they were absolutely amazing. Amazing group of people to live with. I learned the language quickly, fluently, and I learned how to become a part of their culture. I learned every aspect of their culture. I learned they taught me how to hunt, how to train the dogs for the building the sleds. They taught me everything I needed to know. There was nothing that I could not do. I was so in tune to them and they so in tune to me that we became like family. As a matter of fact, we were family. I adopted one of the Inuit boys, and I actually gave one of the Inuit women gave birth to to my only son. So yes, living with the Inuits was absolutely amazing. For me, and this is only for me, I prefer living there than here in America. Only because there I was human, or they saw me as one of them, or a person. Here in America, because of racism and because of the ugliness of our society, it is so difficult for me to prove who I am as a person. So I persevered, but if I had to choose, I'd go back to Greenland. Unfortunately, my wife Lucy doesn't like the cold, so we're going to stay right here. Does anyone else have a question? Yes.
Yes, Mr. Henson, I'm so excited to finally hear you speak. I heard about your work for a long time now. But how did it feel when you finally reached the North Pole? What was it like?
I don't even know how to explain it. It was just an amazing moment. When we first get there, we didn't even know we were there. because we had to wait for Robert Peary to let us know that we actually made it. So once he finally took out the American flag and he posted it on our spot. Oh, matter of fact, here is a good picture. I know you probably won't be able to see it, but if you get the book, there's a picture of us with the American flag and all of the crew members that were there with us. And 18 years of us trekking, trying to get to the North Pole, and finally get there was, I don't know how to explain it. It was just like, it's unbelievable. I mean, it's almost like you know how it is when you dream that you're going to do something, and you keep working at it, you work at it, and then when you finally achieve that goal, and you go, yes, I did it. And then you go, I did it. And then you go like, okay, so what's next? So what's the next thing? So I really don't know how to explain it, but oh boy, it felt good. Oh my God, did it feel so good. It felt good. I hope that answered your question.
Yes, it did. But Mr. Henson, how did it feel that you had to wait 37 years as the first Black explorer to step forth on the North Pole and was not recognized for it?
You know, I try, you know, it's a good thing my wife, Lucy, really helped me to deal with that. And being a Black man in this country, dealing with denial, there are no words in trying to explain how that felt. I thought that Robert Peary was a just, compassionate, and understanding man, and for him to deny me the opportunity and to be honest with you, I wasn't trying to get to the North Pole to make a name for myself. It wasn't something that I wanted to do. I was helping him. It wasn't something that I was looking forward to. I wasn't looking to become famous. I wasn't looking to be trying to make history. All I was doing was helping my friend. That's what I thought he was. He was my friend. And that's why I sacrificed all the time, all the years. Do you know I sacrificed my first marriage just to trek to the North Pole to help him achieve his goals? And when he denied me that opportunity, it hurt. And so I really, it took a lot of prayer and a lot of understanding. And I really want to thank my wife for helping me get through it. But it was something that I really don't know how to explain, but I can tell you this. I did not allow what happened to me keep me from persevering. Because even though I was denied being there, I didn't write just this book. I wrote 2 books. And I went on a tour, even though the tour failed, but I kept pushing. And believe it or not, there were others who were pushing me to make sure that my story was told. So I knew that I was going to overcome. And those famous words that Captain Childs told me, don't fight like this, use this. And I used this to the best of my knowledge. And I kept persevering and kept trekking. And guess what? I made it. Even though it took 37 years to get there, but I am now a member of the Explorers Club. I'm there. And was it worth it? Yes. Every second it was well worth it.
Keith, we want to thank you so much for doing this historical persona of Matthew Henson. Powerful story. As we're celebrating Black history, hence American history, and with you playing this awesome, explorer, how hard was it for you to get in character and performing his life And knowing with some of the challenges that we're dealing with today, how are you able to bring that role into today's time?
Well, I'm glad you asked that question. Believe it or not, on all my performances, that is one of the questions that I'm asked constantly. And for me, it's very easy because even though I may not have experienced the things that he's experienced, but as a black man, I have experienced racism, I have experienced being denied, I've experienced it in various ways. So I take my experiences and I just add it to the stories of all my performances. Not just Matthew Henson, but all of the black men that I portray, because we all have something similar. We all grew up or are growing up or living in America, and because of where we are, no matter what walk of life, what status, you have gone through some form of denial, some form of racism. You had to deal with, you struggled. You always had to fight. You're constantly fighting. Even today, we're still fighting for basic equality, the basic things of life. We're still fighting for that. Things that took place 200, 300, 400 years ago. We are still fighting today. And it's amazing, even when I portray Dr. King, everyone wants to hear that I have a dream speech. I refuse, as an actor, to perform or recite that I have a dream speech. Why? Because you know the dream. And there's more to Dr. King's life other than that dream. You know the dream, you know the speech, but are we living the dream? Is the dream alive in you? For us, it is, because every day you're making a difference and you're making a change. So yes, the dream is alive, but I'm not going to recite it because that's all you want to hear. You don't want to hear the facts. You don't want to hear the background. You don't want to hear the struggle. All you want to hear is the pomp and circumstance, and that's not what our lives is all about. Pomp and circumstance. There's more to our lives other than that. So yes, it was very easy for me to get into character because I'm just living my life through them.
At a young age, Matthew Henson endured his mother dying at 5, and then dealing with different family situations. I know he had a stepmom, and then his father also had died. There was a lot of endurance that he had to go through. Mm-hmm. What would you say are principles of his life that we can use for today?
Well, I would use the example that Captain Childs gave him in fighting against not just racism, but hindrances or stumbling blocks that come in your way. It's so easy for us to pick up a fist and fight back because that's the easy way out. No one wants to fight their way through any circumstance with intelligence or taking time to think it out or try to come at it with love, which is what Dr. King was trying to teach us. That's why he had the nonviolent, because he was teaching us if we look at it through a loving way, there is a better way of getting through the evil. And you can't fight evil with evil, because all you want to do is end up with more turmoil. It's going to be more struggle. But if you did it with compassion and love and understanding, then you'll always come out on top. You may not get what you want, but at least the person that you're dealing with will have more respect for you. And they will listen to you because you're not coming at them with anger, which is what they want. You're showing them love and compassion. So if anything, I would say that the example that Captain Childs taught Matthew how to deal with racism, stay away from the fist, but use this. Because this lasts so much longer than any battle that you'll ever encounter in life.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. I really appreciate it. Thank you.